Welcome everybody to our 107th Learn Fast webinar that we've been doing in our series that we started last March of 2020 actually. This is the 33rd one of 2021, and we have a good friend of the webinar series back with us again this time. I think it's his fourth time of doing these webinars. Our co-host is John Block, and John will get into a little bit of why he selected this particular topic here in just a moment, but it's kind of appropriate. We here in the States, we have one of our largest amateur road racing championships is coming up at this track here fairly soon, and John is going to share a little story of Indy, a path to the pole, the data story of the 2017 SCCA Runoffs. So it'll be a good time. Thanks everybody for coming. I appreciate it. We're going to those of you that are here live, we're going to take questions and answers. Make sure you open up your question, the question and answer box. Throw some questions in there if you have some comments you'd like to make. Those of you that are watching later on YouTube, all of the links we talk about, most of everything that we're going to talk about will also be linked in the description box below. All you have to do is click on the show more button if it's too much that's down there, and it'll open up, and all the links that we're going to chat about today will be in there as well. Today's presentation is available for you to download. Those of you listening live right now, it's in the chat box. You can click on that and get a PDF of the presentation that John is going to give. And again, it'll be in the YouTube description below if you want to download that, so you can kind of follow along as you watch the video. So thank you, John, for coming. I sure appreciate it. John is a guy I've known for quite a while. Have heard of him before I knew of him. And one of the things that I do with AIM is I'm the national training manager, and there is no way for one person to keep up with or even attempt to keep up with training all of the people that are that would like to have training or about our products, our software, our hardware, firmware, all the different things that we that folks may want to know about. So one of the things I did when I first started on and doing this job, I thought, I can't do it all, right? There are so many people that use our hardware and our equipment. So I went and made a point of if I ever find somebody, and you have seen a lot of these if you've been watching these videos, if I find folks that are wanting to or willing to or are able to help train, get people information to work our stuff better, this is not a singular job for me. This working with people that help people understand what we're doing is a high priority for me, and John is one of those that's been doing that for a long time. And because of that, we've got to know each other and become friends, and John's been around at this for quite some time, as he'll talk about, no doubt. And one of the things he does, which we'll talk about towards the end at a little bit more depth, is he does online seminars for AIM data acquisition, including focusing on the AIM software and setting things up. A lot of what you're going to see today is he talks about in his seminars. So we'll talk more about that a little bit later. But that's one of the reasons that we like to have John and Matt and Peter, and there's a bunch of folks that are out there that help people understand this stuff, and that's and I'm drawn to that. So it's Chloe is on the motorcycle side, and David on the karting stuff. All people that we just love to have come on here and help us chat about stuff. So with that said, I think we'll kind of just turn it over to John. John, what we'd like a little bit more in depth of your background, John, before we get started. Just a minute or two, some pretty cool pictures of you in your natural habitat, right? Not the current natural habitat of the machine shop, but from your motorsports days. I'm going to kind of turn it over to you a little bit, and then talk about this one, and then I think we're going to share onto his screen, and we will be off and running. So, John, kind of take it over, and let's jump in.
Okay, well, thank you all for coming today. This is going to be kind of an interesting type of approach for me. I'm going to do something a little different. I've been involved in racing for a very long time. I bought my first race car in 1970, so you can do the math. I drove for a number of years. I built race cars. I've been an engineer. In '85, I managed to become an engineer for the Gallus IndyCar team. I've worked as a DAG, data acquisition guy. DAG is a term we all like to use. And I've been a driver coach, a webinar instructor, a team engineer, it's always my fault. It's never the driver's fault, as we like to say. But I wanted to do this particular show because we just had the big event at the Speedway, with the Indy cars and the Xfinity and the Cup cars. And the Speedway is my favorite track. You can kind of tell by these pictures. These are different pictures from the Speedway. It's a magical place. It's a brutal place. That mistress will make you cry. Nothing worse than having to do what we call the walk of shame, failing to qualify. I was lucky enough in '85 to engineer the Indy car, got the pole at the 500 that year.
Who was your driver? Kyle asked there. Who was the driver in 1985?
Pancho Carter.
There you go.
I had two drivers. I had Pancho Carter and Jeff Brabham, one with a Buick, one with a Cosworth. So that was an interesting time. As time went on, things got a little tougher when I was in NASCAR, and that's when we got to do the walk of shame. But we did manage to go back the following year, and I think we qualified 21st, which is right in the middle of the field. So, not bad for a little privateer team. But there's been a lot of good memories. And, one of my favorite ones was the 2017 runoffs. So that's why we've kind of brought this all together, because that's where they're going to have the national championships this year.
Perfect.
So before I get into any of those details, I just wanted to do a quick disclaimer. This is not going to be a professional analysis. This has been shortened and packaged for 1 hour entertainment purposes. So that's how we're going to do this. But I wanted to kind of let everybody see what it was like through my eyes. And they always tell me that we should start one of these things with a joke. So I'm going to go for the old DAG joke. If you want to take 1/10 of a second off your lap time, work on the car. If you want to take a second off your lap time, work on the driver. If you want to take 2 seconds off the lap time, cheat. That's how it works.
And nobody in motorsports thinks that way. Come on,
right.
Yeah.
Nobody's ever done that.
Exactly.
Basically how this story came to be is I was contacted by the racer's dad ahead of time and agreed to help them with testing before the actual runoffs. So I fly in on Wednesday late afternoon, get the rental car, go to the track, hunt them down in the paddock. So this is the first time I've ever seen the car, and oh my, talk about first impressions. There's rusty bolts in the floor pan, there's broken parts, those wires pull out of sensors, it's kind of like lions and tigers, oh my. The jab rock, the wooden skid on the bottom of the car is hanging down, but they did power wash it and change the oil. I was like, oh, well, I was going to retire at the end of this year anyway. I'm getting too old to chase race cars all over the country. So I'm thinking, what the hell? Let's go for it. So it ends up being a late night. Got to fix the skid so it's back up on the bottom of the car. Got to scale the car, identify the setup, put all the constants into my race studio. And so it's been quite a night. So we head to the hotel, managed to get 3 hours sleep, a shower, grabbed 2 sweet rolls with the hotel, head to the track. Better get used to this routine. You're going to be doing this for the next 4 days. But that's the life of a pro.
It's kind of funny that we start off this story, right? And everybody keep in mind that while John mentioned kind of as he started off, this is going to be a little bit of a different take in how we do this, but it's something that all of us as data people go through, and he's going to more tell the story of a weekend of data analysis. And there are lots of lessons in here that I think everybody is going to find, and I hope you guys enjoy it. But it's not as much click this button to make this happen, but it's the reason you're doing all of this, and I think it'll be kind of fun. So you ready for me to share over to your screen, John?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm going to stop that share. You should pop up, and everybody should be able to see yours, and we will be off and running to hear the great story of a long weekend at Indianapolis.
Okay. So we get to the track. I prep the driver and how I'm going to use my debriefing system as part of how I coach my drivers. It's all quite a bit beyond the scope of what we're going to do today, but trust me, there's a whole parallel process that we couldn't possibly fit into 1 hour, but there's a lot going on behind the scenes. So from last evening, I like to create a baseline. I have these run sheets that I use because I don't like to use the data in a vacuum. I want to know, what's the setup, what's happening on the track, what's going on. So, I have the top part is my setup, and the bottom is where I keep track of my lap times. That way, if you find something funny in the data, it's like, oh, that's right, he was caught in traffic. Oh yeah, there was a yellow, whatever. So we kind of have things set up to run that way. So I'm all ready, driver's ready. We're in, in the pre-grid, everything's fine. Boom, we roll out. These are timed practice sessions. You got X amount of time, and then you got to get off. So we go out, we get our time, we get the checker, come in, and we come into the pit lane, and I've got to get my tire pressures real quick. And the inner voice is, "What the hell is that track worker yelling about?" Like, I don't know. So we head off to the paddock. I download the data, I read the tires, I debrief the driver, and quick, let's look at some data. So we get over to our data. The first thing I always like to do is my quick check. So I check my vitals in the top, everything's looking okay. But I look down, suspension sensors aren't working. Oh yeah, that's right. Some of those wires are pulled out. Oh, well, more to add to the to-do list. All right, let me check on my driver here. And oh my goodness, something's wrong. Oh, darn, yeah, I think I forgot to put in the coordinates for this track. So where it shows I'm in the corner, it doesn't show up on the map. Yeah, well, I'll get that fixed. But nice thing is I look down at his friction circle. He's got a nice shape to it. It's like, wow, this kid's never seen this track. It's the first time he's been here. Plus, he's a true rookie. He's only 18 years old. This is his first year in the car. Wow. And his corner timing looks pretty good. But the car does look pretty pushy, my handling quality thing. So let me go check my handling profile. And sure enough, like, wow, over 13 degrees of understeer. That's pretty darn stout. Unfortunately, I don't have suspension sensors, so all my other graphics aren't working. Like, well, I'll get to these one at a time. How do you eat the elephant? One bite at a time.
Nothing worse as a data guy than to be to think you have data and then don't have it, right? That's what kind of a car is this? I think it says FE, right? Is it a Formula Enterprise car?
Yes,
is that what it is?
Yes, it's a Formula Enterprise.
Perfect.
So those of you that don't know, they're pretty much a spec car. You're pretty well limited in what you can do. So you can't go crazy and just, have a truckload of springs you can throw at it or, stuff like that. You got to stay within the envelope that comes from Enterprise. All right, so I look at the data. My first reaction is, I gotta kill that understeer. I mean, that's a lot. I mean, that's a ton. So, and my first thought is, I can't hook up the rear sway bar because that's one of the things that's broken. But I can take some rear toe out of it. So, I'll take a flat and a half out of toe on both sides of the rear, and I'll add some preload, like 12 holes. Yeah, that's a good batch. I'll put a couple more clicks of rebound in the rear, try and unhook it a little bit. Got to remember, these are small bore cars, not V8s.
A couple of guys asked that question. The LFCR, that's compression and rebound. I suppose it's your shock settings, right?
Right,
okay,
right.
Perfect.
So I'm only marking what I change.
It's the change. There you go.
A
From baseline.
A shorthand method I came up with years ago because it never failed. I'd get back to the shop and I'd start looking through, the spiral notebook, and it says run 2 +3. It's like, +3 what?
No, it's perfect. Yeah, a good screen, a good setup sheet.
So now I know I only mark what I change. And the idea is at the end of the day, you do a set down, they all should compile and match what you got on the car. All right, so, I've put a little more rebound in the front because I'm trying to unhook the front a little bit. Excuse me, the other way. I took rebound out of the front and put rebound in the rear because I'm trying to, you know, hook up the front and unhook the rear. Most of these little cars are way overhooked on the rear. So yeah, I'm trying to do this. Now, for all of you that fell out of your chairs because of the changes, oh my God, he changed more than one thing at a time. Yes, I did. I'm a professional. I've been doing this for 50 years. I know what each change does. I also know what the interactions between these changes do. So don't try this at home. Besides, the cinnamon roll from the hotel hasn't worked off. Let's keep going. All right, so we go out. Some interesting thing, heavy traffic, we can't really run, but come into the pits. I got to run around real quick, get my tire pressures. Inner voice. What is with these track workers? I don't know. Let's head to the paddock, download the data, read my tires. Quick, let's go look at some more data. Okay. Nice thing. First thing I see is less push, and there's not as much height on my handling quality. It's like, okay. That was the right direction. Also see my coordinates, fix my map. The car's in the right place. Oh, thank goodness. Now I know who we are. But what's going on here? My driver's kind of missing some timing here in these corners, but there's less push. So let me go check my handling. Like, yes, down from over 13 down to 8. That was the right direction.
Still a big number, but going the right way.
Still big, but I'm heading in the right direction. And dang it, gotta get those sensors fixed. Anyway, let's see what else is happening here. Like, oh no, this is me. Bad on me. I must have a constant set wrong in my math channels or something. My graphs aren't working right. It's like, eek. All right, come on, cinnamon rolls. Don't fail me now. Dig.
For those of you that are kind of wondering what some of those graphs are, I see a couple of those channels, like the one we're looking at right now, these braking channels. If you go back to John did a webinar with us where he went into what all of these braking, PSI versus longitudinal G, and how he calculates those and puts it all together. So we're not going to get technically deep into some of these. It's more the process. Same thing on the handling one. Just the other day we did one where it was talking about when you set up an XY plot to see the understeer, and where John is pointing it out how to handle some of those. So we probably won't get into a ton of detail on that for this particular one, but just the process of how he walks through the day, the weekend, right?
Yeah. This is an example of how it should not look.
Yeah, a good example of a bad example. That's what we're looking at first. Okay.
Here's what happened when the data guy messed up the math
forgot
channel.
to do a couple things. Yeah, exactly.
Or I put the wrong number. Yeah, wrong number in the constant. I don't know.
Haven't we all?
Yeah, it's like, but okay, so -1 on my side. Okay.
Yep.
All right, so I don't have any suspension sensors. I'm not sure what's happening with the brakes. But I've been reading the tires, and it's old school. Tells me I need to do some camber work here. So, and I got to free this thing up some more. So I'm going to add one thick shim in the right front. Now, fortunately, with these cars, a thick shim is 1 degree. So yeah, thank you, Mr. Designer, for making that work evenly. All right, I'm going to try and get it freed up a little more, get rid of that understeer. So I'm going to do another half a flat in the out direction of my rear toe. And let me try and unhook the rear a little more. So let me go 2 stiffer on my rear rebound. So we'll head out. Now you'll notice that we only had 1 out lap, and we hardly got up to speed, and there was a black flag all. Somebody ran off. Everybody has to come in. We have to wait for him to get that guy gathered up. So we head out. So, we barely get up to speed. I'm running into traffic. We can't do anything. So unfortunately, With this run, I don't know what happened. We got no data. It's like, oh man, life of the dag, I want data, I don't have data. Fortunately, I've got a lot of old school skills, so,
But I do see that it's 96 degrees and 43% humidity. So
yes,
you have that going for you.
yeah,
Ouch.
yeah. Well, and we did before we went out. I dropped the rear wing down one hole to see, maybe this will help on the push. Let's see if there's any sensitivity there. But I don't have data. I have no idea what happened to my things here. But we still do our debrief afterwards. We still reading the tires, that sort of stuff. And I've got the previous 2 runs. So this was the last run of the day. I spend the evening, poring over not very sexy profiles, statistical stuff that nobody but an engineer would appreciate. But I've got some ideas for what we're going to do tomorrow. Typical track night. You're there pretty late. Run to the hotel. Ooh, sleep meter is now up to a total of 3 hours for this weekend. Let's grab 3 more cinnamon rolls. It's going to be a tough one. Head of the track. The inner voice is think. Okay. All right. Got to try something new. Let's twist some new knobs. This is testing. That's why it's called testing. So I'm going to try some different stuff. This time I'm going to max out the wings. I'm going to make these things full up. Let's see what we got here. Wickers are on, full flaps, full rear, fuel it up. Let's go. I want something big. I don't want something little lost in the noise or driver variances. I want to see, do we have a change? All right, so, it's a short run, not a whole lot going on here. So let's dive back into the pits. Let's do our typical thrash. Would somebody tell that track worker to chill? My God, what's with these people? All right, let's get out of here. Back to the paddock, download the data. Let me check my tires real quick. Quick, throw some fuel while the driver's finishing his debrief sheet. And then let's look at some data. Oh, hallelujah, we got data. Okay, happy days. Oh, look over here. Looks like all my brake stuff is coming back to life. All right, so the work last night, the channels all got fixed. Everything's good. Okay, happy days. What's going on here? Let's clear off my graphs. Something happening with my handling. And oh man, what's happening here? We talked about the shape of the friction circle. It doesn't need to concave, it needs to be convex. It's like, what's happening here? Is it going on with the handling? I don't know. Let me jump over and check the handling profile. Whoa.
It's back.
Man, that's worse than ever.
What is your understeer? Your 18, is that it's all we're doing there is taking your steering angle versus your calculated angle, right? Like we talked about a week or 2 ago.
This is a math channel that I've created that is checking the Ackerman angle,
Right,
which is the heading of the contact patch, and then I'm subtracting the heading based off of the rim from the steering
wheel.
So in essence, this is the measure of slip angle delta, the difference in slip angle front to rear. And I'm using an SAE convention where it's positive and negative, and it tells you the amount of understeer. Too often everybody just says, it pushes like a dump truck. I've got a lot of understeer.
I need a number.
So, I tell everybody, okay, on a scale of 1 to 10 or a scale of 1 to 5, and drivers are still kind of looking up in the sky. So I've created these math channels, so I'm measuring it myself.
Which you may have missed it, but Ray Phillips a couple weeks ago, I think, where we did a very, very similar thing with some simulation data. So if anybody wants to maybe play with that particular the math channel that Ray created, which I bet you is very similar, watch that webinar a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, this also gives me an idea of what the driver's feeling in his
Yeah,
hands.
absolutely.
Um, a number this big, he should have been feeling chatter.
He should have been yelling at
Uh,
you, right?
yeah, less than that, the wheel is going to feel very heavy.
Mm.
Small numbers will feel very light, and they'll come
Huh,
back and they'll do that stare up in the sky when you ask them how it was.
huh,
And I know, "Oh, okay, that's probably about 0.5."
okay.
And so anyway, but I have a good idea what the
Yeah.
driver is sensing. So I'm trying to put myself in his position. Um, Unfortunately, um, we didn't have any handling data here. It's like,
Wow.
gotta keep working. All right, well, let me keep hunting. Okay, all right, the brakes are working. This is the way it's supposed to be. However, when the line goes over, the blue line goes over this gray line, that tells me he's locking them up. I was like, oh, what's going on here? He's way over braking. I mean, I did see him lock them up several times, just down at the end of the straightaway. Um, you know, maybe he's actually locking them up or flashing the tires, and that's what's causing our understeer. Let me see if I can figure out what else is going on here. Let me check his consistency. Oh boy. All right, so I've got some more math channels running here, and along with my segment times, I like to see, how consistent was he with applying the brake. So in essence, this is the distance from the beacon to where he hit the brake going into turn one, likewise turn 7, turn 12. So I have an idea of, what's happening in the seat. And I've got to get him more consistent. Maybe he doesn't understand what hit your marks means. We always say it, but he's a teenager. Maybe he doesn't understand, you know, reference points using the gouge in the pavement, the brake marker, a fence post, whatever. Maybe he doesn't get that. So maybe I need to express, this is what that means. And got to get him to where he's a little more consistent in his lines. Like, run the same line every lap. Don't chase the car, because otherwise I end up chasing you and the car, and we're never going to get in sync with each other. So just drive this same line all the time. All right. So, I think we've got him focused here on consistency, you know, but we're getting killed on the straightaways. Um, and we've got to do something with that looseness. I mean, that push is so bad. It's up to 18 now. So let me put another half a flat of toe out and, toe out direction in the rear. Let me do one of my old tricks. I'm going to pump up the tires a whole bunch, and let's see if that doesn't get us going faster. All right, let's
We're going to
do
loosen this
this
thing
one.
up one way or the other, right? We're going to get
Yeah,
rid of
one
that push
thing.
one way or the other.
Yep. And we got to start going faster, because man, we're getting killed on the
Oh,
straightaway.
well,
So, all right, let's go. Go ahead, make a run, come in, same thrash, come on, cinnamon rolls, don't fail me now. We got a long day to go here. So we get back, let's look at the data here. All right. Understeer still looks pretty stout on the handling quality, but man, you're missing the corners. It's killing me, and it's making the friction circle worse. Dude, please work with me. All right, let me see what's going on with the car. Yay, suspension data. I'm happy. All right, so I come down here. As part of my suspension data, I have math channels where I can look at the approximate weight on each tire as we go around the track. You can also look at the difference in weight front to rear. And I see here that there's about a 40-pound greater load differential on the front than the rear. Sure, that is in the understeer direction, but that's not like an 18-degree push. That's off the scale. And I see that the rear toe, oh, whew, thank goodness, knocked a big hunk out of it. And also, now that my suspension sensors are working, my math channels that are calculating my dynamic camber are alive. And I see, oh boy, my inside tire is now down to little less than 2 degrees of negative, which is a good thing because remember, if I had left that degree in there from before, it would have been 3 degrees negative, and that will definitely contribute to an understeer. So, everything is finally looking pretty good here. So thank goodness for old school tire reading and making changes without the data. All right, let's run over here and check his consistency. All right. I know this is something new for you, buddy, but you really got to work on these things, Um, you know, I'm gonna hit you up with, you got to be closer. You can't have a 58-foot window where you're applying the brakes. We got to get closer than that. And, turn 7 is really bad, and turn 12 is 45-foot window. It's like, come on, we got to work on this. But he comes back to me and says, it's not me, honest, it's the brakes. Something's weird in the brakes. Like, okay. Amid the thrash, I step back, the old inner voice is, think big picture, think basics. All right. So I'll give him, the preparation was a little light on this car. So, let's go ahead, let's replace the rotors, the caliper on one corner, all the pads. I don't want to do too many other changes on the car. So let me put that rear toe back. So just in case it was the brakes, I don't want to leave, something way out of there. I don't want to chase it too far down the rabbit hole in case it really was the brakes that was messing up stuff. Plus, I saw some stuff in there. So let me drop the tire pressure back. I saw something there I'm going to save for later. I don't want to show too much too fast. So we go out, bed the brakes, go ahead and do run 3. It's looking pretty good. Quick dive into the pits. Let's get our hot temperatures. Golly, what's with these people? I leave the caps off for testing, so I'm fast. Give me a break. Haven't you ever been to a pro race? This is what we do. So anyway, we should have this down by now. So we make our changes. Let's look at the data. Aha. Things are starting to look a little better here. Looks like the understeer was reduced, and I went the other direction on the toe. So, that's interesting. And still got a thing down here. Yeah, look at all this understeer here and where he is on the friction circle. So, I'm thinking some things are happening here that aren't me. Let me look at my handling. Looky here. Understeer is less than it was, and I put the toe back, should have made it push worse. And I see here that we actually have a greater weight differential at the back, so that should make it in the oversteer direction. That should make it loose. So I'm pretty happy with what I've done to the car. And in my mind, I'm thinking this is driver-induced understeer. Let me take a quick look at the brakes here. It's like, oh yeah, this is a lot better. Maybe there was something wonky in the brakes. Look at how now he's able to brake. He's keeping it under the lockup threshold is calculated by the math channels. And I didn't see any smoke at the end of the straightaway. So I guess maybe it was something wonky in the brakes. So, okay, driver, 1 for you. It was, we'll take that.
Andy's got a question there that actually kind of fits in right where you're at. Do you typically tell a driver, a 17-year-old in this particular case, but maybe any drivers, what chassis changes you're doing as before they head out? Or is that you say, hey, or do you give them, hey, we made this direction of a change, the car may do this? How do you handle that typically?
Okay. As a scientist, I go back to, what they do in all medical things. They always do everything double blind. Well, I can't do things double blind, because they're standing around there watching me do stuff. But I have found that there are a lot of things known as the Hawthorne effect, Pygmalion effect. There's all these different psychological things that when you're really working with, coaching and, doing these things with psychology, If you tell somebody it's going to be loose, it's going to be loose. The thing is they've got in their mind, okay, look for loose, look for loose. And maybe they made one little boo-boo someplace and the back end jumped out and they checked the box and they come back in and report to you, yep, it's loose. But you look at the data and it's like, no, his arms are crossed over. It's pushing so bad. So typically I don't tell drivers what I'm doing. I'm just telling them, I'm trying to help you, see what you think of this. Too many drivers have too many preconceived notions. And if I put a half a flat on a weight jacker, they'll come back and say, that's too much. It's pushing. The data can't see it. God
Yeah.
can't even see it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's psychological.
Especially on young drivers like this that are just go get them. Young guy with not a ton of experience. You gotta play different drivers at different ways, I suppose.
Yeah.
Okay.
So everything's looking good here. Whew. Let's think about run 4, last run of the day. Okay, we've tickled the dragon when it comes to handling. I know how to improve it, and I don't want to keep chasing those adjustments, because I'm still waiting for the parts to fix the rear sway bar, and we're getting killed on the straightaway. I didn't get to spend 2 months prepping this car. Remember, I'm a flying guy. So I didn't get to do my tricks with the wheel bearings, the seals, the gears, my good ring gear trick, the fluids, change the lines, change the coolers, shielding, fit and finish with the body and everything. So, I got to figure out what I can do for speed right here on hand. So let's focus on dropping these wings down. Let's go full flat. Let's see if we can't make this thing fast. I'm not going to chase balance and get it perfect and only be slow. I want to be fast. So here's what we're going to do. Full flat on everything on the wings. Now notice though, on this run, there was a black flag all and we came in. So I made some changes. So let's look through the data and see what happened. All righty. Speed here, it visually looked faster on the straightaway. And I see here that, the green was this run and we have more slope. So, things are going in the right direction. But we had that black flag all, so everybody had to come in. And that gave me a chance to do some other things. So I make a quick change to the car and we send it back out. And yeah, it's faster on a straightaway. But if you remember back here, let me back up a bit. Whoops. Notice I'm keeping track with my handy dandy handheld anemometer, the wind speed on the front. So I know when we have a tailwind and know when it's ambient or when it's the car. So you see up here, it was showing tailwind, and that's what I was expecting. It was faster, and it was about the same on the back straights, but that's going into the wind. So I'm thinking, I just might have something here. And the corner speeds were a little better, which is no surprise, because I'm doing some tricks back there with other things. But we've only got so much time, and we're getting down to the end of the day. So let's skip up here. It's end of the day. We head to the hotel, do all the normal stuff. Sleep meter's up to a whopping 11 hours now. I think the cinnamon roll count is up to 8. But, never, ever, ever, ever give up. Let's keep digging. So day 3, we're going to get 3 runs a day. Let's see what we can do here. The rear sway bar, the front sway bar had been stuck in the stiff position. And last night, doing our work, I also discovered that part of the suspension was all bound up. So I get all those things freed up, lubed up, everything's working fine. But I realized that as bad as it was bound up, the thing is probably going to be pretty darn loose. Because in essence, it would have been like a super stiff sway bar if they're being bound up that way.
Yeah.
So I'm going to anticipate being free. So I'm going to put 2 turns of preload in the front. I'm going to leave the sway bar in a full soft. So just in case it wasn't, he's got some adjustment there on the track. And then we'll, see what's going on there. Let's give it another little kiss on the rear toe and head out. Let's see what we got. Unfortunately, sooner or later, all you data people are going to run into this situation. There was some data there, but I don't remember if it was a power issue or what, but you can see that it kept cutting in and out. So in essence, it was breaking this up into a whole bunch of partial laps and not a whole lap. Now I could have gone back, because the nice thing is I do have my paper record. So I could have gone back and kind of stitched these back together, joining them to make a lap. But we're short on time here. The session is coming up, and we got to get out there. So we got to go with what we got to go. Now in the debrief, the driver was telling me that it was sluggish. I said, sluggish. And he says, yeah, it's sluggish. So in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, it's, slow to respond. He keeps saying the front's not there. The front's not there. It's like, okay. So what I'll do is I'll put, a quarter turn on the front toe out, and I'll add 3 more holes of preload. That ought to do something. And, we'll do some other little things there, and we'll do my little yaw trick, and we'll send him out. And let's see what we get. Ooh, looky here. Finally, we're starting to see some oversteer. Man, we haven't seen this, all weekend yet. So we are going the right direction there. But here again, darn, down there in turn 1, this friction circle is way down here, and that's up, shows it's up on the understeer. So, gee, imagine that. Let me check his consistency. Oh, wow. Looky here. It's finally running the same lap. Look at how little difference there is in the length of the lap. That was pretty darn nice. His consistency is still needs some work. But the other things are starting to come around. So yeah, we're getting there. Let me check my speed today. Looky here now. The front was down because we didn't have that tailwind before. But pretty much it's looking like we're making some headway here. We're gaining. So let's take a look at how the handling was. And oh, looky here. Over here in the S's, we got a big jump out. It's like, what was that? Well, in the driver debrief, he confessed, oh yeah, I messed up. Like, yeah, I see that. But it looks like on most of the other, our critical right-hand turns, it's like, wow, we're finally starting to get some oversteer. It's like this thing is now very pointy. Maybe I went a little too far on the changes, but he says he likes it. So leave it alone. It's like, okay.
He's a young guy. He likes it a little looser.
Yeah, he likes it that way. Remember, he's never had it this way his whole life. It's always understeered. He's like, he likes it. Let Mikey try it.
Yeah, I knew you were going to go there. You're of an age. I knew you'd go there.
Okay, so seeing as how that last run was kind of cut short, and this is a totally new car. This is something he hasn't tried before. Let's just do some little bitty things. Let's just take the wickers off, and let's send him back out and see how he likes it. So we put some gas in it, send him out. Now, like always, people at the runoffs are always trying to do too much, and somebody's always running off the track, and they have to black flag everybody so they can go out and tow them in. But I was seeing not what I was hoping for in the front stretch. So when he came in, I said, yeah, what the hell? Quick, give me 2 wrenches. So I put 2 more flats in the rear going that direction. So, we head out, finish the run, and come back in, do our normal pit routine. It's late in the day. Do they have cinnamon rolls at the snack bar? Oh, well, no, focus, back, focus. Okay, here we go. All right, back to the data. Oh, hey, finally, looky here. Thank you, Mr. Driver. You're getting your timing a little better here. Way less dip on the friction circle. Whoa, looky here. Way less understeer. Imagine that. But you're still braking too soon. So think about, your brake pressure versus your steering, and don't drop the pedal so much before you put the wheel into it. See if this doesn't help do this, but you're going to have to go deeper. Otherwise, you're going to finish braking way too soon. Let's look at your consistency here. Whoa, much improved. Look at this.
Yeah, very
seven,
close.
whoa, now this is what we're talking about here. You're doing what I'm asking you. I like pro drivers to be able to hit that mark within a 6-foot window. Bingo. See, you did it. You're just like a professional. Good for you. Keep doing this. But now think about where you finish braking, where you release the brake. That's what we need to start working on now that you've got
The next step.
the next step, right? So, sadly, this was a short run. After that, life, my life story. If we just had one extra lap,
Always.
always. Well, but let's just keep digging here. The speed. Interestingly enough, there wasn't much change in the lap time. So, a lot of people might say, oh, that really wasn't a change, but I'm looking at this closer and I'm saying, you know what? I think that loss in lap time was, driver responsibility. And it was this extra slowing here. It was the decel zones that was driving my lap time up. So, with only one lap, it's kind of hard to say. So let's leave this and let's think about our last run of the day. Yeah, so same stuff, different run. My little toe change there for that last run did help. Looky here, got a little more speed, but again, he's slowing it down too much, but we've got a lot of good positive slopes. So we're making grounds.
What you're doing there, John, is you're always bringing up the previous session versus the best lap probably versus the session you just did. Whenever we see these two lines, it's always just one session previous, probably, right?
Well, except for this time.
Except for this time.
Remember, this time we had the black flag off.
Oh, okay.
And
okay.
I yawed the car some more.
Gotcha. So this was inside of one session. Okay.
Right. This is my old wake trick.
Yeah.
It's an old trick that I learned from Joe Katz, where I'm working on wake drag, not surface drag.
Yeah.
And this being in the same session, you can't say that there was, tires or something.
Gotcha.
This is a true back-to-back here.
Perfect.
So we saw that we did, on the straightaway here, we gained some speed. Granted, the lap time suffered, but it's him. He's killing it in the corners. He's slowing down too much.
There you go.
But look at how much more positive slope we have. We can accelerate out. All right. So end of the day, got to think about what we're doing here. Same stuff, different day, but we had a good dinner last night. Sleep meter is up to 15 hours now. I think the cinnamon roll count might be matching that.
You haven't wiped the Holiday Inn Express out of cinnamon rolls yet? You're still doing okay?
No, every day I just kind of like, whoop, put some more in the bag. Let's go. All right. But it's a new day. Take no hostages. We only have 2 runs today, so we got to make these sessions count. So, we saw that yaw change did something. So I want to know, did I saturate that adjustment? Don't just stop there. I want to go one more. I want to make sure I can slow it down. I want to make sure there's not a funny wiggle spot in the line for you engineers. What I'm talking about here. I want to make sure I saturated the curve when I came down the backside. I want to know, am I slowing it down or is there still a little more? Is there just a wiggle? So I'm going to say, what the heck? Let's go big. Let's put 2 more flats to that direction. I'm also want to, let me do some stuff here. Let me see if I can do something different here to try and reduce some of that understeer we've had. I'm going to raise the rear ride height half a turn. That's a pretty good deal. Everybody knows you put rake in it, changes it makes it freer. But I know that's going to slow me down. Remember all these interactions, like, okay, I've freed up, but I'm going to slow it down. But maybe we'll see if that extra toe does something. And just for the heck of it, I'm going to put the front sway bar in the middle. That way he's got adjustment both directions. I like to have everything adjusted in the middle. That way when he's on track, he can go one direction or the other. And I'm not sure how this thing, I know these things are really based off of a Van Diemen, but I'm not sure if it's going to have that sensitivity. They typically don't have rear sensitivity, but I'm going to, just in case, I'm going to soften up the rear rebound just to make sure. I don't want him to be spinning out. And then let's go out. So this is going to be a good run here. You know, we had a black flag, so we had to come in, ignore this note. If I told you, I'd have to shoot you. Was that the my security clearance prevents me from knowing what's happening? Don't worry about that one. That's a trick I may have to use at some point in the future. But hey, you know, we're finally running down traffic. It's like, all right, this is good. So quick, dive in the pits. Let me get those tire pressures. Yes, I'll clear the pits in less than 30 seconds. Geez, I think somebody else needs a cinnamon roll or a chill pill. What's with these people? All right, quick. Back to the paddock. Let's download. Let's do our debrief. Dig, dig, dig. We've got, you know, we're coming up on the end here. All right, let's look at the data. Whoa, baby, looky here. So we didn't saturate it, and I know the raising the tail was going to make it slower. Well, we're faster everywhere. Right on, Johnny B. There's some tricks here. Let's keep going. So let's keep this yaw heading. Let's take a look at our handling. Oh yeah, this is a little more than I want, but I don't want to take all the feeling out of his hands because I know if I get too low, he might not need to have the feedback he needs. So I'm going to try and sneak back on this a little more. But remember, we had that black flag all in this session. So I real quickly reminded him, sway bar if you need it. It's amazing how these kids, they get so busy driving, you know, that they forget, oh yeah, there's this lever over here. I can adjust the sway bar. So he makes the adjustment. So this, remember, this is in the same session. This is just same tires, everything. Whoa, looky here, from middle to soft. Ah, yeah, this is the way it's supposed to work. And oh yeah, looky here. It actually took 20 pounds difference out of the front weight differential. Ah, yes, of course it understeers less. Gee, everything is working just like it's supposed to. Whew, it's taken me 3 days, but we're here. 3 days and 15 cinnamon rolls. Okay, so let's come over here and check the driving. Oh, man. Dude, what's with the corner timing? You gotta use, you know, our old valley of opportunity here. You know, move your brake point deeper. All right. More coaching. Let's look at the, you know, consistency here. And let's try and add something else here. So keep working on your consistency, but I want you to think about something new. Notice that on this one lap, we're also keeping track of our minimum speed in the corner. I like to call it roll speed. And notice how when you had a higher roll speed and you got on the throttle sooner, this is the smallest number, so that means that was the first the quickest application of the throttle. Gee, imagine that. A higher roll speed and a sooner application of the throttle made the lowest segment time.
Both are good directions to be in.
Yes, it's like, whoa, what can you bolt onto a car that's legal and get, you know, 0.8 of a second? It's like, all right, remember this. So let's keep doing this. All right, so let's just keep working on this and go like we're going. All right. All right, deep breath. Reach into the Johnny B's bag of tricks. Let's see what we got for the last run of the day. I'm going to drop my rear down since the handling came back, and I know dropping the rear is going to make me faster. So let's put the sway bar back in the middle, and hooray, the parts are finally here. Let's put the rear sway bar on it. Thank goodness. And since we're doing that, I better, soften this rear rebound a little bit. Let's fuel her up. And oh, wink, wink. How about a half a turn on the fuel regulator? Yeah, nobody's looking at that. And let's head back out. Let's go for it. Yay! Finally, look at this handling. We've got oversteer everywhere. It's like, man, this is
Thanks.
beautiful. And personally, since these are small bore cars, I would never do this with a V8. But these little cars, actually, if it's loose, it's typically fast because you're getting it to spool up and it'll pull out better. Too many people overhook these little cars and just kill them out of the corners. But Mr. Driver, oh, please work with me. It's like, oh, what's going on here? Is it a visual thing? What's going on here? Let's look at the brakes. Whoa, wow, good deal. You're able to threshold brake and not lock it up. Whoa, this is pro stuff here. Take it right up to the threshold, not go over. Good job for you. Keep doing this. The kinesthetic, whatever's under your foot is perfect, but what's our timing issue here? Are you not real sure on your visual marks? Is it too many cars distracting you? Do you need glasses? It's like, all right, well, I got to figure out what's happening to his brain. So, let's keep digging with the coaching. Maybe one other little approach. It's like, think about this. Remember we talked about on the previous one, your roll speed and getting to the throttle sooner. Think about this. If you're willing to change your line a little bit and give up just a little bit on roll speed or something, but you can get back to the throttle so much sooner. All right, so we were going a little slower here, but look at what happens being on the throttle that much sooner. When you do that on your segment time, sure, it takes a little off of one segment, but it adds enough more into the next segment that the combined give us 0.281 tenths of a second. So just keep doing it. So we've got to keep working on putting these segments all together.
Especially when the second segment is twice as long, right?
Right.
The added benefit on top of it.
Right. What's the old thing that everybody that's ever been to a driving school? The most important corner is the slowest one before the longest straightaway.
There you go. There you go.
Unless you're running an oval track, and then it's every corner. It's like roll speed, roll speed. Okay, so in conclusion, we're coming to the end here. Another late night at the track. I saw that thing way back there where I quickly dropped the tire pressures down. There's a little thing happening. There's an interaction between camber and tire pressures. And a lot of people totally miss that. The engineers should catch that, and people in alignment shops should catch that. Your camber thrust, everything changes. Your square brace changes with pressure and camber and all those things. And if you do a little combination, you can swing it back the other way. Because I'm always reading my tires, I make my camber and pressure change together without anybody looking. I do a couple of other things because I'm expecting the ambient to be a little different tomorrow. So I finally call it a day. Let's go get a good dinner. Let's get back to the hotel. So come on, Justin, you got to do these exercises tonight. Put your phone away, no surfing. I want you to do your visualization exercises until you fall asleep. Remember, you're going to take a little off from one segment to add it to the next segment. And let's do it. Okay, so I'm only booked to do testing. So, the next morning I'm on the first flight out. It just happens to be qualifying day. So as soon as I get back, I run into my office and look at the results, pull it up, and there it is online. What?
Yeah, he hadn't been in a 40 all weekend, all week long, right?
Well, it's
I've seen some 41s, but
like, what's going on here? The whole field is like a couple tenths, couple tenths, couple hundred, couple hundreds, couple tenths, couple tenths, couple tenths, couple tenths, all the way through the field. What's this? Oh, wait a minute. What was that data acquisition joke about 2 seconds? Yep. These guys got busted in tech and DQ'd. They were cheating. Yay for good old little us. We're on the provisional poll. You know, not bad for a rookie, his dad, and a flying data guy.
but by 4/10, two on
Yeah.
top of it, right? Then
Yeah.
that's not bad.
So,
42.
but to end this, we're at the end of our time. Just to let y'all know, I did continue with phone support. Trying to coach him. Yeah, I've done all I could do with the car. I thought, trying to get him to do all of his different things. So after all 4 qualifications, he did slip down to 3rd, but he finished 2nd in the race. Didn't do too bad. Funny enough, these guys won. Yeah, I'm going to take that with a yeah, right. But all in all, for kid, rookie, his dad, no super prep on the car. A lot of things from Johnny B's bag of crazy tricks, and most importantly, some data to back it up. We were pretty happy. And that's the life through the engineer's eyes.
Yeah, using data as an engineer, right? I took a couple of notes here that I'll throw in, and let's throw a couple of questions as to finish up the last couple of minutes here. The first one, you were coming up with some weight numbers as far as suspension, and Tice was asking those values, were those from sensors or from maths? And I'll throw out that it was maths, and one of John's previous webinars, we went through all the maths and even shared them with us. So I'm sure that Brick has shared the link to that webinar, and if not, we'll share the link to that webinar in the notes for the YouTube as well, YouTube description.
Yeah, and if I could just add something quickly there.
Please.
A lot of these things are not 100% absolute.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to go to the moon 90 some 100,000 miles away. If I can get 95% of an answer at a racetrack, that's usually about 94% more than anybody else has got.
And it's the right direction as much as anything, right?
Right. So, so what if they're off 10 pounds? I'm not trying to worry about 10 pounds. I'm trying to worry about, is it 100 or 1,000? I'm order of magnitude kind of guy.
Yep. And Brick just shared it. It was better breaking with data. It was a January 26th of 2021 was where he shared all of how that math was done, and including the math channel. So if you're interested in that and need deeper, please go to there. Kyle did mention that you have some good engineering knowledge and some good data knowledge, but really what the important part was is you stayed at a Holiday Inn Express last night. That was really the important part. For those of you that may not be in country, that's a catchphrase for the Holiday Inn Express chain. And then reading tires, you mentioned that a couple of times today, and I know you've mentioned it in the past, and I'll throw out that little bit. When we first got into karting, I was from off-road, and you could read the tires, but it was obviously typically you just rip them apart in the rocks. But when we first got into karting, and I heard several of the dads and several of the kart shops were talking about reading the tires, and it was foreign to me. It meant nothing, and I could look at a brand new tire, one session, and then another one that was understeering or it was oversteering, and I couldn't see the difference at first. And it was a skill that came to me, and it took a bit of a while. But that reading of tires helped me all the way through all of our motorsports, and still something I can go to today and look at a front tire or a rear tire and without looking at the data, give you a pretty good idea of what that car's doing right off the bat. So that reading of the tires, everybody, and maybe we'll bring somebody on and we'll chat about that a little bit more. I think there's real power there.
Well,
You mentioned it.
and if I could do a shameless plug,
Yeah, exactly.
that's one of the things we do talk about in my advanced webinars
There you
is
go.
how to read those things, because there's a lot to it. It's, understanding that there's a grain. In which direction does the grain go, and what is that telling you? And then, looking at the shape, the color, there's a lot of information there that I always like to look at the tires real quickly first and then go check the data, because almost always the two match each other.
Exactly. And if it
And
doesn't,
when
that tells you something as well.
that tells you something else.
Exactly. Well, maybe we found our guy that's going to talk to us about tires in a few months. So let's keep that in mind. The whole thing we've done here, I'm gonna share.
I'm gonna
Grab
pass back to you.
grab bag that. Yeah, please grab that back for me, and then I will share my screen back again. And boom, oops, I need to jump well ahead. The point of that I wanted to hit on of some of the stuff that you just talked about was that you're an engineer, you're a data guy, you're doing all this stuff, but there was just as much importance, if not maybe more, of your prior knowledge and your preparation and being ready to go for this process. You had your data, your data screens are set up. You've got your math channels done. Yeah, you had to fix the sensors to make it all work, or maybe tweak a couple little things with some channel names. But boy, you dialed that in fairly quickly. All of that was preparation, and in order to make this thing work right, if you're not willing to do that, then it becomes a lot harder task. So that's what I got out of this. This engineering using data is a big thing, and you told the story through an entire 3 days of preparation of testing, and then up through the qualifying lap. But it really was a whole lot more of your time and knowledge and effort that made that work, and with the team as well. So really enjoyed that.
Thank you. Thank you very much. A lot of people just see you come in, look at some squiggly lines and say, do this. They don't realize that, for a weekend event, I might have worked 80 hours ahead of
Exactly.
time getting ready. There's all the setup sheets that have to be prepared. There's the driver debrief sheets that have to be prepared. There's all your math channels that have to be set up. All of your constants have to be set up, because I've got constants for every track and then
Yep.
constants for every car. So yeah, there's a lot of homework that goes into it.
Yeah, and I see Ray Phillips online there with just a yep, right? Because that's another thing that he talks quite a bit about is setting up that screen. We're going to talk about some services that John has there. We're going to talk about here in a couple of slides, and we'll get back to that. But a couple of questions just to get them real quickly. Assuming tracks are similar, do you start the next weekend or the weekend settings, or do you always go back to a base setup? If you were to go back to if you were to be there for if you went back to Indy, or you had a test day ahead of time, how do you handle that? I know it's car and driver specific, or weather, and some other different things, but what's your basic?
Okay, well, ideally, I'd be going back with the same driver in the same car.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be going back with a GT3 and a
exactly.
different driver. The whole thing with being an engineer, I don't think you can see here in my office, I've got file
Oh
cabinets
yeah.
everywhere. And I've got, I've
You've
got
got
three.
notes.
Yeah. And the idea is that you pick up right where you left off. Also, with my driver debrief system, the driver has his notes as well. And the thought being that if he's looking through his notes, when he jumps in the car, he might need a few laps to shake the rust off, but he's going to be right back with it. And this is something that the pros do. All the pro drivers have these notebooks. They don't let people know about it, and they guard them with their life. But how do you think a pro can unload at a track and within 3 or 4 laps be back to within a tenth or two of their best,
Yeah.
and then work from there? Where, I know I don't want to throw anybody into the bus, but I know there's a lot of people going to the runoffs here in a month, and they haven't been in the car for 8 weeks. You're going to spend a day just getting the rust off and trying to get your timing back, unless you've got these notes and you know exactly where you're braking, exactly what you're looking at, and the car is set up exactly where it was, and you at least come in close to where you were.
Yeah, refreshing your memory before you get back into the car, right? You're knocking that rust off, and it shows that we had the year of the pandemic where NASCAR was a good example. These guys were going to the track and they were not making a lap, and their very first when they saw the green flag for lap one going into into turn one at Atlanta at 190 miles an hour, it's the first time they saw it, right? And they were all going back and reviewing the notes and watching events from previous times and doing everything they could to become prepared. Plus, a lot of the front of that pack certainly is very good on top of it. So the some of the stuff that you were changing, David Smith had one more question before we kind of close this out. Was the track changing a whole lot in between those changes? Sun, overcast. Were you keeping track of that? I did see some weather notes that were on your setup
Yes,
sheets as well.
yes. I am keeping track of that kind of stuff. Fortunately, it stayed pretty uniform. So, I mean, of course, over the course of a day at Indy, it will change.
Keeps on heating up, yeah.
Well, and
And
there's some
then
things.
cools on.
Yeah, and then
Shadows.
there's also some little tricks about the speedway that they'll talk about on TV, and I go, not in my experience. So,
Yeah, and you were running at the highest level there at certainly in
yeah.
that 1 year with Pancho. Do you all did call 2017? Did you have any video on the car?
No, and
Nowadays it's a
sadly,
lot more
yes,
often.
yeah, and all you people, you've got to get up to speed here, because the video with the Race Studio 3, it is a huge leap forward. I'm excited for this to be common with everybody, because it is going to be so nice.
There are some things you were doing there that could have been answered with video with a lot less effort on everybody's part, certainly. So perfect. I appreciate it. Let's chat about where this is going. Some of the stuff I did see that Brick did put the links into some of the previous webinars that you had done, and they'll of course be in our YouTube Learn Fast E-Training videos area on YouTube. But we currently have 172 with this one videos that are up there, and you can go back and review any of these. It's just a huge amount of information from guys like John that are just so smart at what they do. There's just so much value there, and free for you to go and take a look at. It's a huge thing. The customer support will be at those runoffs, no doubt, with AIM staff and our Sprinter vans, and be helping some folks out. Anybody that needs some help, make sure you look for us there, or at the NASA Nationals coming up, and down at Daytona. All of the races between now and then, we'll either be there or give us a call, and we're happy to help you guys out and get everything, get you prepped up, or of course your hardware. So make sure you give us a holler if you have any questions about what you need there. This is what I was talking about. One of the things that John offers that is just special and very so valuable. There is a price to it, but it is so inexpensive compared to what you gain. He has these original data acquisition webinars where he's online. The next series starts Monday, August 30th, and that's for the beginner one. And then there's also an advanced session that I think is on these are on Mondays. I think the advanced is on, what is it, Thursday, John?
Tuesdays.
Tuesdays of the same week. So sign up for the beginner or the advanced. You wouldn't want to do both. I think there's a big enough difference that you'd want to go through the beginner one first and then jump up to the intermediate or advanced. But they start at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 Pacific, only $175 for all of them. And you for all 5 of these sessions, and you get all the handouts and the links and just all direct knowledge access to him live while he's giving them. Of course, he probably will chat with you afterwards a little bit as well. But he keeps them fairly small. A ton of information. A lot of everything, virtually everything you saw today is discussed at one of his levels. So, John, you have the things to remember that you always like to chat about. Race the track, not the other cars, and of course be safe and have fun. And that's such an important thing that that we get so wrapped up about fighting car number 43 over here, or whatever it happens to be, and we're not focusing on making our own stuff better. And that's such an important part of what we do, need to do. So appreciate it, John. There's a link there. There's John's email address or his phone number. Give him a holler. Sign up for those. We got that set that's coming here in the next 10 or 12 days or so when for the next set starts. So looking forward to that. The next week is gonna tie this together a little bit. You talked about roll speed and cornering and the oval track stuff. David, who's with us here in the chat live, is going to be hosting our next webinar next Tuesday, the 24th, digging for speed with data. But the bigger title here for me is we've got a lot of road racers, we've got a lot of bike racers, kart racers that join us all the time. David's going to be focusing on dirt, kart, oval motorsport, but what I always think is the neatest thing about what he is doing and what people in that form of motorsports are faced with is the difference between the front of the pack and the back of the pack might be 0.2 of a second, and it's these small gains can be huge on short tracks, and I don't think it can be said much better than that. So what we're going to be talking with David about is some tips and tricks that he has found and some processes that he's worked with, and they're looking for hundredths, and a tenth is like a huge gain. So it's going to be fun to kind of chat with somebody. Most of us are looking for a tenth or two in a corner, for this 2 or 3 or 4 mile, Road America track, where he's looking, boy, if he can find a few hundredths in each end of the track, he's now gone from the D main to the A main, and it's a big deal. So we're going to be chatting with David about small gains can be huge on short tracks, and I think we're going to be looking at ways that they find these little things that will add up big for sports car racers and motorcycle racers too, things like that. So it'll be fun. So looking forward to having David join us. I think it'll be his second time of joining us as a co-host. He's been here and watches a lot of them, but it'll be his second time. He's a good guy, good family man, working with his kids, and also with just tons of folks that are racing on karts with the Micron series of our gauges. So it'll be fun. So contact information, talked about John's upcoming webinar series. There's his contact information and his website. Give John a holler and chat with him about those, and join him at I've never spoke with anybody that has attended John Block's series that have had a negative experience. Everybody that I've not been able to attend, it's always been busy time for me, the particular days of the week, and he doesn't. I have not been able to attend. I still do want to, but I have not been able to attend. But everybody I've chatted with has really enjoyed it, so I'm never afraid to suggest that you consider doing that. So John, I appreciate it. We did go a little bit long, but we started just a little bit late. Anything else you kind of like to share with us as you kind of close this up?
No, just thank you all for letting me try something totally different. A lot of people don't understand what a crazy life it is and how it's just pure thrash, and when you get home, it's like, oh God, please, can I sleep for 2 days?
I thought it was really a fun change from the pushing of the button or talking about a math channel to, what does a person go through as you're walking down this path, and the increase in the car and making it work the way it does is so gratifying and so fun for those of us that do that kind of work, that I'm sure you enjoyed that a lot. So I appreciate it, everybody, especially you, John. I appreciate you doing this again. We'll have to have you come back. Maybe we'll do that. Maybe we'll do a little bit about tires and have you join us again. Maybe that would be fun. So everybody, I appreciate it. Look forward to seeing you all here next Tuesday. It's going to be a good time, and everybody have a great week. Hope if you go to the racetrack this weekend, hope you do well. We'll see you guys all next Tuesday.